He stared at the ivory envelope, heart pounding. Her handwriting, the same looping letters he'd memorized years ago, the same scent of lavender ink she always used when writing to him. It was a wedding invitation. But when he read the card, his blood ran cold. You are invited to the wedding of Ryan Taylor and Claire Evans. Claire wasn't her name, and yet her signature was there at the bottom. Hope to see you there. Love, Emma. He hadn't heard from her in 5 years. Not since she'd walked out of his life without a single word, and now she was inviting him to a wedding that wasn't hers. Ryan and Emma met in college, the classic story of opposites attracting. She was a dreamer who painted on the campus steps. He was a realist who carried his textbooks like shields. She called him Mr. Logic. He called her Trouble in a Yellow Dress. They were inseparable, the kind of couple everyone rooted for. Their love was loud, messy, and full of inside jokes no one else understood. Until one day, it wasn't. Emma grew distant. She stopped showing up to their morning coffees, stopped painting, stopped laughing. When he finally confronted her, she simply said, "I can't explain it, Ryan. I just need space." He tried to fight for her, but the more he tried, the farther she pulled away. And then she disappeared. No calls, no texts, no goodbye. He searched everywhere, even called her family, but they said she'd moved out of town. She'd left a single note on his desk, "Please don't come looking for me." That was 5 years ago. Now, here he was, holding her handwriting again, heart racing with questions he thought he'd buried. The return address said Meadowview Chapel, the same church where they once attended a friend's wedding, the place where she'd whispered, "Someday, this'll be us." He didn't want to go, but he couldn't not go. So on a cold Saturday morning, he dressed in the suit he once wore for her birthday dinner and drove to the address on the card. Every mile felt like a memory. Every traffic light a heartbeat. He kept asking himself, why would she send this to me? Why now? When he arrived, he sat in his car for 10 minutes, staring at the small chapel through the windshield. Then, taking a deep breath, he walked in. The place was filled with flowers. Lilies, her favorite. And at the front, a woman in a white gown stood with her back turned. Ryan froze. The way she moved, the way she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, it was Emma. But when she turned around, it wasn't. The bride looked just like Emma, but softer, calmer. It wasn't her, but her eyes. They had the same spark. Ryan took a seat in the back, confusion swirling inside him. Then he heard a voice beside him. "You must be Ryan." He turned, and there she was. Emma, dressed in a pale blue gown, a small bouquet in her hands, smiling like time hadn't passed at all. His breath caught. "Emma? What is this? Why did you—" She motioned for him to wait until after the ceremony. The wedding proceeded, and as the couple exchanged vows, Ryan could hardly focus. He kept glancing at Emma, searching for answers in her face. When the ceremony ended, she approached him. "I wasn't sure you'd come," she said softly. "Why did you invite me?" he asked. "Whose wedding is this?" She smiled, the kind of sad smile that hides years of pain. "My brother's," she said. "Claire is his fiancée." He blinked. "Your brother? Then why send me?" "Because I needed you to see something," she whispered. "That love doesn't always end with forever." They stepped outside into the garden,
away from the laughter and music. For a long time, they just stood there. Then Emma spoke. The day I left, I was diagnosed with chronic heart failure. They told me I might not have long. Ryan's stomach dropped. Why didn't you tell me? Tears glimmered in her eyes. Because I didn't want your love to turn into pity. I wanted you to remember me as alive, not as someone waiting to die. He was speechless. All those years of confusion, anger, heartbreak, explained in a single sentence. I spent months fighting it. Then one day, I realized I didn't want to keep hiding. I reached out to my family, got treatment, and somehow I made it. Ryan felt his eyes sting. So, you're okay now? She nodded faintly. Better. Not perfect, but alive. Then she smiled. The same smile that once melted every wall he had. You were my first great love, Ryan, and I wanted to see you again. Not to start over, but to say thank you for loving me before I even knew how to love myself. He wanted to say something, anything, but words refused to come. As the reception began, she took his hand and led him to the dance floor. It was the same song they'd once danced to at their college farewell. For old time's sake, she whispered. They swayed slowly, surrounded by strangers and memories. For a moment, it felt like time folded, like the universe had given them one final dance. When the music ended, she looked into his eyes. Goodbye, Mr. Logic. Goodbye, trouble. And just like that, she was gone again. But this time, he didn't chase her. Because now he understood. She hadn't left to escape him. She left to save the version of herself that he fell in love with. And maybe in another life they'd meet again, in another church, under another sky, when forever wasn't so far away. Ryan smiled as he walked out of the chapel, the sun setting behind him. Love, he realized, doesn't always mean staying. Sometimes it means knowing when to let go and still being grateful you ever held on at all. Some people leave because they stop loving you. Others leave because they love you enough to protect you from their pain. If you've ever lost someone but found peace instead of closure, this story was for you. Broken heart, comment, love doesn't always end. Sometimes it just changes form. Red heart, hit like if this story touched your heart. Bell notification, subscribe now for more cinematic stories of love, heartbreak, and healing every week.